Hey, everybody, and welcome to this abbreviated edition of the first Dads with Bacon Talking Sports. We are actually going to be doing the first ever show next week, next Wednesday, November 30th. But uh, I realized that, hey, we have a pretty big college football game coming up this weekend with Ohio State and Michigan. And I have Taylor Phillips joining me tonight. Taylor has the the Michigan Sports Truth podcast that you do. Is that right, Taylor? Why don't you tell us a little bit about that first?
Well, what I do is detect and reveal truth that's out there with our Michigan sports teams, whether it be the Tigers, Lions, Red Wings, Pistons, Spartans, and Wolverines. You can follow my show on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Subscribe to it on YouTube at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast and like its Facebook page and listen in audio form on Spreaker. Follow that.
Nice, nice. All right, so why don't we just get right to it? Because I know you got some other stuff going on, and we have a little bit of trivia that we're going to do later on in the show. But first of all, so this is, I believe, it's the 117th meeting coming up this weekend, or maybe the 118th meeting. I can't remember. Coming up between Michigan and Ohio State. Uh, First of all, I want to touch a little bit on last weekend's two games between we had Michigan just barely eking out a win at home against Illinois 19-17, and then Ohio State 43-30 at Maryland. I know Maryland and Illinois are both better than they have been in the past. Was this, you think, possibly a situation where they maybe were looking past it to this coming week's games, or what?
Well, Michigan, for example, had like a couple injuries. Donovan Edwards and Luke Schoonmaker, along with Blake Corum, who left in the a little early in the second half. But he says he's okay to go. But that's only a part of adversity. Michigan kind of looked a little past Illinois. Illinois used to be ranked in the top 25,
Yep.
but Michigan's offensive line at times wasn't doing their job, and they got outmatched by Illinois' defensive line somehow. And but when the time came in the clutch, Michigan, their offensive line responded and answered the call, only to settle for field goals, including the game winner, a chip shot from Jake Moody, with 9 seconds left, giving the Wolverines a 19-17 lead. And the Wolverines defense didn't have to do too much after the Moody field goal. They just they just held on and win. Had two plays, including the final one with a second to go. Um, now the question is, yep, I know Blake Corum's coming back. Well, they have to use him. It's desperation. Blake Corum is the much needed weapon, and he's been the talk of the Heisman Trophy as well. Blake Corum, he can run with strength. He can drag opposing defenders up the middle in the running game. But can they get Luke Schoonmaker and Donovan Edwards back? Mike Morris, I believe, played against Illinois, as far as I could tell. He said he was okay after getting hurt against Nebraska the week before, but I believe Mike Morris is okay to go. Blake Corum, I believe, is okay to go. They need both of those two guys to step up. They need everyone to step up against Ohio State. It's the game. There's so much at stake. It will at least partially affect the college football playoff rankings, most importantly, than any other thing that's out there.
Yeah. So now let's see. Ohio State is ranked number 2 in the college football playoff, and then Michigan number 3. Do you think there's any chance that we might see still two Big Ten if Michigan say pulls is victorious on Saturday at Ohio State? Is there a possibility you think that we could see Ohio State somehow getting back into the 4-team playoff?
Well, we'll have to see about that. Again, it depends on how the other teams in the college football playoff rankings are doing, such as TCU.
Sure.
And and whoever's down there. Yeah, the TCU Horned Frogs are number 4, I believe.
Yeah, they are, and then apparently LSU snuck back up into number 5, even though they have 2 losses so far this year. But I mean, I've heard a lot of people saying that Ohio State is actually probably this is one of their best squads, and of course Michigan. I mean, Michigan beat them last year to snap that 8-game losing streak. So, what will Michigan have to do in order? Because I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm a Wisconsin fan, so I'm not I'm used to. They've had decent luck over the last decade against Michigan. They've never had any luck against Ohio State. So, I'm used to seeing them lose to Ohio State. But I will say when they played Ohio State earlier this year, and of course, Wisconsin's been so up and down all year, but I mean, it wasn't even, I mean, it was already a blowout, I think, in the first quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it wasn't even close. So, this seems to be one of the best Ohio State teams that I can remember in a while. What's it going to take for Michigan to beat them tomorrow? Or, I'm sorry, Saturday.
Well, their head coach needs to be smart with the play calling, of course. But last year when they had all those weapons and the offensive line and such, they had what it takes. It was I'm not even sure if they won despite Harbaugh, just because he's good. I mean, he's a good coach, but just not smart. They just weren't ready for the college football playoff competition as far as experience goes, because last year this was Michigan's first ever. This was the school's first ever trip to the college football playoff. Yep. They ran into the Georgia Bulldogs, who would go on to edge Alabama by a score or 2 to win the whole thing.
Yep.
But it was just a small taste of what would come if Michigan were to beat Ohio State and then win the Big Ten championship and thus enter the college football playoff again, like they did last season. So Michigan, every time they get there, they're going to have to get used to this more elite level of competition, whether it be Georgia or Alabama. I know Alabama hasn't been good as advertised as of late, but I don't even know what happened to them. But the focus is the game. Michigan's defense is going to have to step up, especially with their top pass rusher, Mike Morris. But everyone else needs to step up too. Play 60+ minutes.
Sure.
Don't make any dumb mistakes, and also be smart with the play calling.
So let's say that they're able to pull off the win on Saturday. Do you feel, I mean, kind of touching on what you just said about last year, do you feel this team will fare better? I mean, obviously it depends on who they play, where they're seated, all those kinds of things. So, that's a whole nother story. But do you feel that this team will be better prepared to play in the college football playoff than the Michigan that, played last year against Georgia?
Well, this is too early, too soon, too tough to tell, too difficult to tell.
Sure.
Because we never know what's going to happen, whether it be a route loss or a close result, whether they are up. It would depend on whether they are up to the task or not. They have to prepare. They have to be a lot more prepared than they were last season against Georgia. That's it.
Sure. Okay, now let's touch quickly on the game tomorrow. Tomorrow we have Buffalo at the Lions for I believe that's the first game of the day for our Thanksgiving football. I will say, first of all, I'm a lifelong Packers fan, so I'm not used to. In fact, I can't remember the last time that the Packers were actually looking up at the Lions in the playoff standings in the NFC North, but that's the case this year. Any chance, in your eyes, that the Detroit Lions pull off an upset tomorrow against the Bills?
Not much, to be honest. The Bills are favored by 9.5 points.
Sure.
And yeah, Josh Allen, he's still good. Doesn't win all the time, but I think the Bills are the Lions are gonna compete. You saw the way they stomped on the New York Giants, despite not having Okuda much. That Kirby Joseph with a pick, Aiden Hutchinson with a pick in the defensive line. That was that rookie has two picks.
Yeah, and I believe the first one was against Rodgers, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah, the first one against Rodgers, and then the other one against Daniel Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's I guess why we've seen the Bills struggle in the last few weeks. We've seen Josh Allen struggle in the last few weeks. Is it possible the Lions have a really come out to play on? I mean, I feel like for the most part, they usually play a decent game. They usually play a decent game on Thanksgiving for the most part. Again, there have been a few clunkers or whatever now and then, but I know when they played the Packers on Thanksgiving, they always seem to play pretty well. So I guess that's what I'm wondering if I should really be paying attention to this game, or if I should just wait for the Lion or for the Cowboys Giants game. Let's say I think the second game of and not really worry about the Lions Bills game.
Well, that's completely up to you. Well, really, but to be honest, the competition, the Lions have won 3 straight 3-0 since they fired defensive backs coach Aubrey Pleasant, and their defense has done very well without him. They are well schemed by the coaching staff, including defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, head coach Dan Campbell, of course, and and Dan Campbell is becoming at least a little bit smarter than he has before Pleasant was fired, and it's all going to come down to the higher level of competition. Yeah, the Lions knocked off a team with a winning record in the Giants, but you got to check the power rankings. The Bills are apparently higher ranked in the NFL power rankings than the New York Giants are. So
for sure. I guess and that's the only reason I'm wondering if there's a chance that this could be at least a very good game, very competitive game, an entertaining game, is because I didn't expect them. Now you could argue the Giants, maybe they're a little bit overrated too, but I did not expect them to go in on the road. I mean, I believe the week before against the Bears was the first road game that they won under Dan Campbell. So, I didn't expect them to go into New York then and beat the Giants the way they did. I mean, it wasn't like a last second field goal. I mean, they beat them by 2 touchdowns. That's why I was thinking, maybe we got a different team here. So anyway,
they do have a different team. They led in that game against the G-Men. They led by as many as 3 possessions, not once but twice.
Yeah,
that is unbelievable. That is not Lions characteristic.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I'll take.
Yeah. All right, Taylor. Well, I will let you go. Why don't you one more time before you leave plug the show that you're going to be doing tonight?
Yep, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Follow it on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Subscribe to it on YouTube at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and like its Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast, and follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Taylor.
On.
Yep. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we're going to bring on David Driscoll. David, how's it going, buddy?
How about yourself?
Great. I'm waiting. Hold on 1 second here. Okay. Well, we had one. What we're going to do, just to kind of clue everybody in here. I have a trivia contest that I want to have for the Ohio State-Michigan game. And Brian, who is going to be the other contestant, isn't available right now. So we'll have to have him on a different time for another thing. But David, I wanted to know, first of all, you and I were messaging back and forth. explain to me, your fandom, as you, if you will, for the Michigan Wolverines. Why don't you kind of give me your background here, quick?
So, diehard Michigan fan my whole life. I grew up right by the state line where Michigan, Ohio is at. So the rivalry is super intense where I'm at. Pretty much all the time, all year round.
Okay, so like, can you give me any, give me some, do you have a story or anything like that that you could think of that kind of epitomizes or describes, the rivalry itself?
Well, just like so, right at the state line here, we have stores called Michigan, Ohio stores, and they're literally split right down the middle of the store. Where side and one side is Ohio, and there's a commercial that comes on pretty regularly that if soon as somebody with the wrong team crosses over, all the alarms go off.
Okay. See, and that's what I love about sports, because actually here in Wisconsin, there's a bar, and I'll have to look it up again. For the life of me, I can't remember where on the western part of the state, in the western part of the state here. I mean, Green Bay, where I am, is on the eastern side, but on the western side by the Minnesota border, there's actually a bar that, and I don't know if it's still decorated like this, but one side is painted green and the other side's painted purple for the Vikings. And it's like kind of that exact same thing. So that's one of the things you got to love about sports. So okay, here's what I'm going to do, David. I want to test your knowledge of trivia of this rivalry. I am going to describe 5 different performances. So we'll just go kind of right down the line here. And people, if you're those that watch this, they can they can play when if they're watching live right now, or if they're watch on demand, they can play this too. But so I'm going to describe 5 different performances, and I want you to see if you can tell me what player it was. And I'm going now. You look younger than me. I'm 46, so I don't want to go too far back. I could probably go back further, but neither of us may know some of the players if I go back 117 years. So, are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, all right. So this first player, quarterback for Ohio State, back in 2015. He's the only quarterback, Ohio State quarterback, that has gone 5-0, or I'm sorry, 4-0 in his career versus Michigan. He was a quarterback from 2014 to 2017, and his 2015 performance in the game may be his best. He completed 9 of 15 passes for 113 yards and a touchdown, while running it 19 times for 139 yards and 3 more touchdowns. Do you know who that player is?
But that's an Ohio State person.
Yeah, it's Ohio State guy. A couple of these are Ohio State, a couple are Michigan.
Is it Braxton Miller?
Nope.
One.
I'll give you one more guess here. Like I said, 2014 to 2017.
Oh no.
Okay, that one was JT Barrett.
Oh, yep.
All right, the next one. This is another Ohio State quarterback. A little more recently, 2018. This happened. It says he may have only had one season as a Buckeye starting quarterback. In 2018, the Heisman Trophy finalist became the first Big Ten quarterback to be taken in the first round of NFL draft since Kerry Collins out of Penn State. The quarterback lit up Michigan, 20 of 31 passing for 396 yards and 6 touchdowns.
What was that?
It was 2018. He actually was drafted, I believe, by the Washington. Well, they were still the Redskins at the time.
So Dwayne Haskins.
Correct. There you go. Okay, so that's your one for one, or 1 for 2 here. All right, this guy's near and dear to my heart, even though again I'm a Wisconsin guy. But 1991 wide receiver, punt returner. Now, do you mind if I ask how old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay, so you were. Let's see.
3.
You were, yeah. I was gonna say you were born, but yeah, you may not have been watching the games yet. All right, let's see. See what I can read here to describe him. It says here, when we think of Heisman Trophy winners, we often think of former wide receiver and return man. This guy. This is because he struck a pose in the end zone after scoring an electrifying punt return on the Buckeyes. In his quest for the Heisman, he was looking for his signature moment, and it came in his team's biggest game of the season, of the biggest of stages in 1991.
Desmond Howard.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, near and dear to my heart because he scored a touchdown for the Packers in Super Bowl. Gosh, I don't remember what Super Bowl that was, but that was back in the 90s. So love Desmond Howard here. All right, this Ohio State quarterback, 2006, says in one of the greatest games in recent memory, this quarterback helped number 1 Ohio State stay perfect, getting past number 2 Michigan. He is the most recent Buckeye to win the Heisman. His 2006 performance in the game is the stuff of legend. He had completed 29 of 41 passes for 316 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also had 4 carries for 12 yards in the 42-39 victory. Troy Smith, nice job. All right, so you're 3 out of 4. All right, then this last one here. Again, now this guy, you would have been 9 years old when this guy played. Again, another guy that's near and dear to my heart as a Packers fan. It says we have to put defensive back and wide receiver, punt returner, specialist blank at the top of this list because he is the only primarily defensive player to ever win the Heisman Trophy. In the 1997 installment of the game, he had a huge reception, a clutch interception in the back of the end zone. I think I know your answer. And a punt return for a touchdown, edging out the Buckeyes en route to a national title. Who was he?
Charles Woodson.
Charles Woodson. There you go. All right. Yeah, so you were 4 or 5. Nice job, and you even got a couple of the Ohio State guys. So that was I wasn't sure because I was trying to get Ohio State and a Michigan fan on here, and it's fun. It's weird because I feel like Ohio State is just as popular as Michigan, but I had a few people that were Michigan fans who wanted to come on here, but you were the first one to respond. So I appreciate your time, David. Now, what's your prediction for the game on Saturday?
Well, so it's supposed to be rainy. So I think passing is going to be hard. So I think it's going to be like 24-17, Michigan.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts? I guess since I have you here and you were on, you were in the what they call like the back room or whatever here on StreamYard while Taylor was talking. Michigan had a scare last week against Illinois. They win 19-17. Do you think, as a Michigan fan, they might have been looking past Illinois a little bit, and or what are your thoughts on that game?
I think they were looking past Illinois a little bit. I also think that Bielema knows Big Ten football. It was not a great matchup.
Okay.
Right, their strengths were our strengths, and they kind of collided there. And then losing Corum in the first half in the red zone where he fumbled it and they picked it up, that kind of turned stuff around. And then they were trying the running game in the second half. Stokes and then Dash. So they kind of lost some of that physicality, and I think that this week they'll have that more back.
Awesome. Now, I guess one other question then that I asked Taylor, I'll ask you too. As a Michigan fan, are you, because they didn't have the best performance last year in the college football playoff, their first appearance in the playoff against Georgia. Do you think they'll be, let's say they pull off the victory against Ohio State? And I haven't seen the line. I know it's at Ohio State. I'm assuming Ohio State's favored. 7.5, is that what it is? Okay.
Here today.
Okay. Gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a better game than that, for sure. I mean, I think, like you said, it might come down 24-17 or maybe even a field goal, 3-4 points, something like that. Do you think, should they pull off the upset, do you think this team will be a little more ready to play in the college football playoff than they were last year?
Yeah, I think they'll be more ready. I also think last year they kind of ran three Georgia teams. Also,
sure.
Right? After the loss to Alabama, where they thought they had the best defense arguably ever in college football, I think that refocused them and got them angry. And then that's what Michigan ran into.
Sure.
Right. It wasn't just they were not fully prepared. I think it was just the team that they also ran into was considerably tougher than any of the teams that they would face this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, David, I appreciate you coming on and doing the trivia. Like I said, hopefully next time, this is an abbreviated version of our Dads with Bacon talking sports. So starting next week, we'll have at least an hour-long show, be talking about some of the upcoming NFL games, college football. Of course, next week we'll be talking about the Big Ten championship game, along with some of the other conference championship games that will be going on. And hopefully, I'll be honest with you. So, like I said, I've always been a Badger fan. Never really cared for really either one of these teams because I was a Badger fan, and growing up, the Badgers always got killed by both of these teams. So it really didn't, it was like, whatever. But I got to say, I'm pulling for Michigan this weekend, if for no other reason than one of my former jobs, the boss that we had, who was kind of a prick, was a huge Ohio State fan. He was an Ohio State grad and everything. He always talked about Ohio State. And ever since then, I've been like, you know what, screw Ohio State. I don't even care. So, I'll be pulling for Michigan. And though I will say Harbaugh sometimes rubs people the wrong way, he's kind of growing on me for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if it's maybe the khaki pants or what exactly it is that, but it's just, I'll be cheering for Michigan for sure.
That's one thing I think everybody can agree on. We all hate Ohio State.
Absolutely. Thanks, David. I appreciate you joining me. Take care. All right, that's our first show. Again, an abbreviated edition. Hopefully, one of my co-hosts, Tyler, will get the technical issues that he has right now with his computer fixed for the official first show of the Dads with Bacon Talking Sports. We also have Dads with Bacon Talking Games and Movies that'll be starting next week. So I'll have more information out for everybody. And until then, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy Thanksgiving football. Enjoy this coming weekend college football. We got some great games. And we'll see you next week. Take care, everyone.